Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by criticizing former players. I'm one of your three co-hosts. I don't know if I'm a David or a Goliath, but I am Ryan Stacy, and I'm joined by a David and a Goliath. I'm not going to tell you which is which. Derek Kubachek and Josh Westler. Guys, how you doing?
Well enough. It's extremely hot here today, so to get some things out of the way, some housekeeping, if you hear a small humming in the background, it's because we have fans and air conditioning going galore over here. Our heat index and actual temp is over 100,
Yep.
So we're doing our best. We are hacks at best, and here we are.
So yeah, I will do my best to edit out the noise, but yeah, if you do hear anything, it's because we have two fans and an AC going.
But look at me being a Midwesterner, just immediately jumping in and talking about the weather. No, I'm really excited to talk about the pre-merge of David versus Goliath with everyone. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I don't have anything going on in the background, so I'm the actual professional here.
Yeah, you know, North Dakota, famous for its brutal winters. Fun fact, it gets stupid hot in the summer sometimes too. And today's one of those days. Garbage.
Random aside, but I did see some publication came out with a list of like best places to live, best states to live in the United States. And I saw that North Dakota came in at 4th for 2026. Minnesota came in at 3rd. And South Dakota came in at 2nd. So I don't exactly know how this list is compiled. These three states are only comparable in geographic location, in my opinion. I do believe that North Dakota has better roads than Minnesota, but that's because people actually use Minnesota's roads.
Look,
so.
if North Dakota's 4th, those other states must suck.
If North Dakota's 4th, man, oh man, what are the other 46 states doing? As someone who I guess has never officially lived here, but has been like a football's throw away. Goodness gracious.
What was number one?
I don't know.
Oh,
they didn't
gosh.
Post it.
Oh, you had to pay for the article or something?
You had to pay for the article.
Oh,
yeah, you did. And I didn't want to do that.
Number one's a secret. They don't want everybody moving there.
The answer is Colorado. It's always Colorado.
Yeah, sometimes it's Hawaii.
You're right. Sometimes on the happiness index, it's Hawaii.
I can guarantee you it's not Mississippi or Alabama.
Ew.
Or Wyoming. Or Maine.
Hey, Maine's good.
I hear Maine's great for a visit.
I enjoyed Maine.
Because the joke is Alabama and Mississippi are always the bottom two at everything.
Yeah, and Louisiana.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Oklahoma.
Sorry for all of our Bible Belt listeners. Sound off in the comments if you agree or disagree. Either way, it promotes the podcast. So,
but yes, David vs. Goliath pre-merge, widely considered like the high points probably of like 30s, if not the highest point, close. One of the more popular seasons in the 30s. A really, really fun season in a stretch of kind of mid seasons. Because we're just coming off of Game Changers, Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, and Ghost Island, none of which are anything special. And David vs. Goliath, I think, is a breath of fresh air. I really enjoy this season.
yeah, the theme is goofy, but they hit on almost everybody in this cast.
I would say everybody. I would say everybody brings something to the table.
Well, and you say the theme is goofy. What are the ones that Ryan just listed off? Like, if not goofy? Like, come on.
You know, like, okay, Heroes, Healers, Hustlers is famously the goofiest. Ghost Island is a dope theme.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exactly, it doesn't not work, but it doesn't work. There was more they could have done with it.
They could have cast actual ghosts.
Millennials versus Gen X, you know, that is what it is. But like David versus Goliath, it feels like you're saying, you guys are pathetic. You guys are amazing. Now go have at it. Now, in fairness, they've already done this with Survivor the Amazon because women are amazing and men generally suck. But, you know, why do you have to call it David versus Goliath?
Hey, David killed Goliath.
Spoilers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm spoiling the Bible here.
Yeah.
But, you know,
If you haven't read it by now.
if you haven't read it by now, David kills Goliath. So, you know, take that for what it's worth.
By the Achilles.
No, that's a different one. It's a different
Oh.
book. So, there's a lot of Survivor out there. Season 51's coming up. Point of this podcast, if you don't have time to watch it all, we're here to watch. You don't have to. We're here to tell you what is must-watch Survivor if you're going to pick and choose. David versus Goliath pre-merge, I'm going to say is must-watch because this is a blast.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
And I'm going to say it's a must-watch because we are introduced to a new advantage that may or may not play a role. And especially in the upcoming open era of Survivor, we may see a return of this advantage. It's one with pretty significant potentials. It creates a lot of potential situations you have to be aware of forever.
I'm going to be the annoying person and say, Derek, that doesn't matter because it has zero impact on the pre-merge so far. It doesn't change, my mind. I still think it's must watch.
Wrong though. It's introduced though.
Introduced, but there's nothing to learn about it. Like, it's going to exist in the post-merge too. So that being the reason why it's must watch. I'm just I said, I'm just
with the fact that it's a blast.
Yeah, I'm just being a D word. So
you're being a pedantic loser, and that's okay because that's usually my job.
So yeah, must watch from all of us. So go check this one out before listening. So we're going to be spoiling the pre-merge today. We won't talk about who wins, but everything that happens in the pre-merge is fair game. So keep that in mind. Spoiler alert. Let's go over this cast of 20 Davids and Goliaths, 10 and 10. The little game we like to play before each season where we see how many of these people Derek and Josh can remember. Derek got 11. He's going to argue 12. Josh got 12 confirmed. Do that information what you will. So, you guys got Fs, but it was like an F+.
I think that those are pretty solid numbers. First of all, I beat Derek. But, usually when we play this game, if there's 18 or 20 people in a season, I think it's usually half at best that I remember. So to remember 12, I think that makes it a pretty memorable cast.
Now, I would have gotten all 20 if we played the game with me. So
we don't play the game with you, Ryan.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
I enjoy having a life.
I'm sorry I have a better memory than you two. You guys are losing your memory in your old age. All right, let's go over this cast. We'll start with the David tribe. 10 members of David. We have Bean Nguyen, an MMA fighter from Houston. Carl Boudreau, a truck driver, also from Houston. Christian Hubicki, a robotics scientist from Tallahassee. Davey Rickenbacker, a social media manager from Atlanta. It's funny that we have a Davey on the David's tribe, but he was a last-minute substitute. I believe the original plan was to have Cerie's son, Jared Fields, on this tribe. But then he switched last minute and was on Big Brother instead. So Davey was kind of a last-minute ad. Elizabeth Olsen, kitchen staff from Texas.
Not that, Elizabeth.
Yeah, not Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's an Avenger.
Yes.
Gabby Pescuzzi, a technical writer from Denver. Jessica Pete, a waitress from Florida. Lyrsa Torres, an airline agent from Boston. Nick Wilson, a public defender from Kentucky. We should talk about him real quick.
Let's just pause.
On Nick Wilson, because F this guy. This guy sucks so hard. He, post-Survivor, he is in the Kentucky State House of Representatives and voted for some pretty heinous anti-trans legislation. So F this guy. He sucks. He's pretty likable on the season itself, but post-Survivor, this guy is trash.
Yeah, if you're watching the season in a vacuum, you're not going to get any of this, but we're going to say F Nick Wilson probably a lot over this episode of the podcast. So just keep that in mind, everyone.
And we have said it before, so.
Yep. When he's come up before, we've said it. This guy sucks. So screw this guy.
All right, moving on.
And Pat Cusack, a maintenance manager from New York. That's our 10 Davids. Moving over to Goliath. We have Alec Merlino, a bartender from California. Allison Raybold, a physician from North Carolina. Angelina Keeley, a financial consultant from California.
So many A's.
Dan Rengering, a SWAT officer from Florida. Jeremy Crawford, an attorney from New York City, Derek's favorite.
Attorney.
The mayor of Slamtown himself, John Hennigan, pro wrestler from LA. Cara Kay, realtor from San Diego. Mike White, filmmaker from Los Angeles, notably creator of The White Lotus, in the movie Zombieland and School of Rock. So very notable. He was on The Amazing Race twice before this, so recognizable face. Natalia Azoka, an industrial engineer from California. And Natalie Cole, a publishing CEO from LA.
Napalm Natalie. That's our group of 20. An absolute cast of characters, all of them. Very dynamic cast, lots of conflict, lots of fun. So well done casting. Yes. If Nick Wilson didn't suck so bad, this would be a near 100% hit rate.
Yeah, yep.
And again, Nick is like good here in the pre-merge, right? Like we're going to get a decent edit from him, but
he's entertaining and fun in the pre-merge here. It's just like his post-Survivor life is just so crappy.
Yeah.
It's like the one negative against the season, and that's not the season's fault.
It's not Survivor's. It's not even casting's fault.
This is post-Survivor,
Yeah. That's the risk.
Anybody can end out becoming a monster or having been a monster this whole time. It happens.
And still could be. The future. There's plenty of room in the future ahead of us for all these people to become monsters. That's a great way to look at it.
We all used to like Jeff Varner once.
Ooh.
Who? I don't even acknowledge that character's existence on this podcast anymore. I'm done with him.
Yeah, you never know. So just assume everybody's terrible.
Don't meet your heroes.
Keep the expectations low. Everybody's a horrible person.
If any of you met Ryan in person, you'd realize that he's actually worse. Now Ryan's got a pure heart. You get exactly what you think you get with Ryan. What is it? You're the most real person that people ever meet.
I've been told that before.
Yes,
which is very nice.
It's your favorite compliment you've ever received.
One of the few compliments I've ever received. All right, guys, are we ready to jump into these episodes?
At long last.
Let's do it.
All right. Episode 1, appearances are deceiving. We're going to have an opening challenge. We had to switch the lighting situation quickly because I had a glare on my phone and I couldn't read.
A horrible glare.
All right. Opening challenge. We're going to meet. This is kind of cool. We start on a kind of a barge, this large boat, and the opening reward challenge takes place on a really interesting looking boat. We haven't really done a challenge like this before. So this is kind of a really cool opening, I thought.
Oh, agreed. Do creative maroonings again.
And I think they're trying to, just because isn't this still pretty early on in the Fiji, like permanent Fiji timeline?
Yeah,
this is season 5 in Fiji, in like where we stay in Fiji. We're not counting season 14.
Yeah, got to spice it up a little bit.
So the opening challenge, the Goliaths get to pick the people they think are the 2 weakest Davids to compete, and then they get to put up their 2 strongest Goliaths. But then the Davids get to pick the obstacles each duo faces. So it's Lyrsa and Christian versus Allison and John, and the Davids win the opening challenge. We're off and running.
And the only decisions really that mattered here was the puzzle.
Yeah, Christian solves the puzzle in like 5 seconds. Yeah, Christian is a robotic scientist, and basically, when I first saw him, he's like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. Much less annoying. But that was my very first impression. He would fit right in on Big Bang Theory. That's probably the meanest thing I could say to Christian. I'm so sorry. I love Christian. Christian's phenomenal. He's better. He's much better than Big Bang Theory. Mike is recognized for his appearances on The Amazing Race and his movie work.
He doesn't even try to hide it, which, I mean, how can you?
How can you? Everyone, not everyone, but people know who he is. So good luck winning this, Mike White. You're going to have one heck of a road ahead of you.
Not impossible.
And this isn't like the Guatemala situation with that quarterback. What's his name?
Gary Hawkins.
Yeah, Gary Hawkins, but
Gary Hogaboom.
Gary Hogaboom, where it's like, oh, you're going to have one person who recognizes you. No, Mike White is very recognizable. He is the kind of guy you could pick out from a crowd.
Anyone who's seen School of Rock knows who he is.
Oh, and speaking of professional sports players who were on Survivor, congratulations to Jeff Kent making it into the Hall of Fame. Survivor's Jeff Kent.
He's probably only going to get like 60% into the Hall of Fame before Obama frickin' takes it.
Speaking of people who suck, Jeff Kent.
Yeah. Wow, we're really just
winners. We're hitting them out of the park.
Yeah, we got a bingo card here of our least favorite players. I've already heard 3 names today. Oh boy.
Let's bring up Michael Scoop next.
Por favor.
Woo! All of our favorites. The hits keep coming.
Who's the free space? I don't even know.
Dan and Cara, they're going to hit it off and start a showmance. It is not discovered in this episode, I want to say. As far as we know, no one mentions it in this episode, but yeah, they have a showmance going.
Yeah, it seems like Cara's more flirting and Dan is more falling, but I think there's a little something.
On the David strip, Pat is going to take charge in building the shelter. He's really good at it, but he's bossy and makes a lot of off-color jokes, very blue-collar. Don't do this. Not everybody is going to have the same sense of humor as you, so the ones that toe the line or cross the line, nope, don't do that. You don't want to end up being the next Dan Foley.
Yeah, and it's a reason to vote you out, or a reason for you to have a pretty miserable time post-airing.
Yeah.
So, careful.
It seemed like all he had to do was just get a little comfortable. And it just slipped right into just letting your guard down and just saying whatever you wanted with no filter.
Yep. Natalia's going to take charge on the Goliath shelter, and it's very obvious that Natalie Cole, Napalm Natalie, is used to being in charge. She's used to delegating, she's used to telling people what to do, and then having it be done.
Yeah, getting her way.
Where she doesn't have to do anything. She speaks, and it is done. So they clash, and Natalie's getting off on the wrong foot. Because she likes to delegate, not work. Dude, whoever got Napalm Natalie on the season, give them a bonus and a raise. Amazing casting.
Natalie is a person who I desperately want to see play again. Regardless of how this particular Survivor journey is going to go, I want Napalm Natalie again.
Absolutely not.
The fact that she is not the first person voted out of the Goliath is a miracle.
It's a gift from the heavens.
Yep. She is so bad at Survivor.
They were like, we're sorry about Laurel. Here's Napalm Natalie. She's gonna do stuff.
Yeah. Casting gold, horrible at Survivor.
Yes.
Hilariously horrible. Jessica over on the David's tribe, she's going to pull a Michael Yerger. She's 19, but she's going to tell her tribe she is 22. That's a move we like. Definitely do this if you are a teenager playing Survivor. But she and Carl are going to make an alliance, and then Davey is going to be brought into that one. We're going to get a couple more alliances. We're going to get Elizabeth and Lyrsa, and then Christian and Gabby. So a bunch of duos happening on the David's tribe. On Goliath, Mike's going to go idol hunting, and the rest of the tribe notices, and Natalie's going to go off to look for him, and she's going to warn him, hey, you have a target on your back now. Natalie, let Mike have a target on his back. It's perfect. You've maybe moved up one in the pecking order. But I don't think she's got the self-awareness for that one.
Yeah, I want to try to give her some credit just because she's had a little bit of a rough start, you could say here. So, if she can have one close alliance member, awesome. But that's under the assumption that she knows that she's had a rough start. And I don't think that's the case. So,
No.
Yeah.
I just want to say here, I love Natalie. I feel like I would have a great time going like to dinner with Natalie and just picking her brain and getting her opinions on things. That said, you're already at a bit of a disadvantage being the oldest woman to be cast on a certain season of Survivor. That's always an uphill battle for everyone up, through 37 seasons of Survivor so far. And I mean, to her credit, she's not going to be forgotten. She's not going to be overlooked. If she makes it to the end, there is a certain level of impress involved in that, but she's not good at Survivor. I just really needed to get that off my chest.
And while they're gone, the other 8 are all like, hey, so we're all working together. Which do we get rid of first, Mike or Natalie? Uh-oh.
Whoopsie.
Hey, perfect. You got 2 people ready to go.
On the David's tribe, Elizabeth and Nick are going to make an alliance. And Nick's strategies, he believes that if you make an alliance with somebody, you should give it a nickname, give it that personal touch, and make it feel like a stronger alliance. It seems to work here in the pre-merge. We'll see if that continues into the post-merge. But Nick and Elizabeth, they're both Southern, so they make the Thoroughbreds alliance.
Mm-hmm. And I think that this is a fine line to straddle, because the whole thing is, if you can do something with authenticity, generally speaking, it's going to be good. And this is something that works with Nick. But if you do this badly, it turns into Aubrey having a dialogue on the beach, which we are so close to. We're finally getting close to season 38, episode 1, where Aubrey's having dialogues on the beach.
I don't know if it was episode 1, but yeah.
It was episode 1 or 2. So it's hardly a spoiler at this point. Just like, for those of you who haven't read the Bible, for those of you who haven't seen season 38, Aubrey wants to have a dialogue.
Yeah, and I think that this is actually a really good move by Nick, just to make that bond and to make that other person feel special and make the relationship stand out. Everyone is going to be talking to other people and building alliances with everyone else. So if this is something that helps it stand out, great. I probably would not recommend this going forward. This is kind of like a one and done type of move, just because now that people have seen it on TV, if you go and are like, hey, we should have a cool name, they might just pick this out and be like, how many people do you have, fun, cool alliance names with? And that could backfire on you really quickly.
Yeah, unless it comes up super naturally, I would avoid this. This is really common on Big Brother. Everyone names their alliances on Big Brother, apparently. Rick Devens and D are both on Big Brother right now, so good luck to them.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Go Rick Devens. I'm very pro Rick Devens. And I like D a lot, too. You know what? Go Survivor.
Go Survivor. Show these Big Brother losers what's up.
Beat them at their own game.
But yeah, so you got to be really genuine with this. Nick is also pretty lazy. We get a confessional how he doesn't want to do any work, and both Carl and Pat pick up on this, and so they want him out first. And I think Carl's got a confessional like, "There's nothing I can't stand more than a man who doesn't work." And I'm just like, "Oh, Carl would not like me."
Ryan, I mean, no offense by this, but you would be very much like Nick Wilson here.
Ooh. I think you meant all the offense when you said
no.
Rude.
I say no offense as far as, anything outside of Survivor.
Ryan would be out there. He'd just find someone. They'd make the Lazy Dugan Alliance.
That's a deep cut
That is
reference.
a deep cut reference. Good luck.
That's a Paper Mario Thousand Year Door reference for those of you who caught that. That's deep. Yeah, so Nick's you don't want to be too lazy. You don't want to work yourself too hard, but you don't want to be too lazy either. It's a fine line. On the Goliath tribes, Angelina and Allison, they make an alliance because they have noticed that the ratio of men who find hidden immunity idols versus women is extremely lopsided, and they want to change that. So they're going to go idol hunting.
That's not going to happen this pre-merge.
Nope.
Not even close. It's going to be so much worse.
Dan immediately finds the Goliath idol.
And on cue.
And Kara and Natalie are both with him when he finds it, so he tells them about it, obviously. So, not ideal for Danny Boy here, but, you know, what are you gonna do?
You know, at this point in Survivor, I guess, like, better to have it and then be able to burn it to get the target off your back than it is for someone else to have it in secret.
Well, and at least have it be, you know, what seems to be two of your closest alliance members. If this was just random, insert random person here that he would find it alongside. If this was Natalie next to him when he finds it, then it's be careful about this. But you know, these two I think are fine for now.
And guess what? If they weren't your closest alliance members before, they are now, bucko.
Yep. We're gonna cut to the David tribe, who is busy trauma bonding about how crappy all of their lives are. And it is, I laugh, but it is heavy. Yeah. This comes out of nowhere, and it is heavy. It's a great way to get to know these people, but man, oh man, some of the stuff they talk about, like there's domestic violence involved. It's like, oh my god, this escalated so quickly. Wow. So yeah, there's some Davids on this tribe.
Yeah, and you know, Happy, I think it was B specifically talking about a violent situation. I'm glad that she was able to get out of it, whatever that meant for her. And I mean, trauma bonding can work, and that's all good, and it's good for authenticity. But just from like a stepping outside the game standpoint, therapy's a good thing.
Yep.
Don't wait for Survivor to share these things. Hopefully you can be on your way to healing by the time you get that call.
Survivor could be a therapeutic experience, but make sure you have a therapist as well.
Yes. We are pro therapy on this podcast.
They really could have gone with like, oh, the Davids are just like, I don't know, nerdy, small, weak, you know, up to like a big challenge. But they really just went all in on, no, people who have had really rough paths, have been disadvantaged since birth. Like, they really went for it with people's backgrounds here.
Yeah. Immunity challenge. And what's interesting in the immunity challenges this season is I think almost every challenge, at least the immunity challenge, have like a hero portion where it's 1v1 for one obstacle. And they really lean into that. So yeah, you got to kind of put up or shut up in these hero portions. If you're going to do it, you have to do it. And especially in this first challenge, because it's digging under a pole, and the first person to get underneath basically causes the other group to have to untie knots and gives them a disadvantage. So it's Carl versus Alec. Alec is going to get through this first obstacle before Carl. So the Goliaths get the advantage. They don't have to untie a bunch of knots. The Davids do. So that just puts them way behind, and the Goliaths end up winning. That's a fun aspect of this challenge. I like it.
Yeah, layers. I
like stuff like
layers
this.
To them. Don't have just be a straightforward do this, then do a puzzle, and be done. Yeah, have some risk reward maybe.
Yeah. So Davids are going to tribal council. It's seemingly going to be Nick or Pat. Those are kind of the two names we've heard. But on the boat ride back, there's a cyclone going through, and the boat hits a bad wave. Pat is going to fall and seriously injure his back. We come back from a commercial break with like the boat darting to shore, getting Pat onto the beach and treating him. We had medical come in to treat him. It's awful. It's really awful. Pat is in so much pain. Feel so bad for him. This is rough to watch. And so Pat's going to get medically evacuated from the game just because of a freak wave.
Yeah, and he's saying, oh, it's my back, like it hurts, or I can't, and maybe like I can't feel like certain things. And at this point, you're just thinking, oh my gosh, like did this paralyze him partially or severely? You have no idea what's going to end up happening, let alone, you know, whether or not he's going to get pulled from the game. It seemed pretty serious enough to where it was mostly a certainty right away.
And again, stepping back, like, of course, this is the David's tribe. I don't want to say it's a little bit on brand, but, I won't forget. And early in nomination for most memorable moment of the pre-merge is specifically Pat. He's on the gurney and he's found out he's getting pulled from the game. And he just kept saying, not like this, not like this. I don't know. That's the kind of thing where it's like, there's a certain level of acceptance that 18 or 20 people go in, you're not going to win. Or like the chances that you're going to win are pretty slim. But he hits a wave and he's in so much pain and he's still just saying, not like this, not like this. He's just railing against that which has already occurred. He's railing against the inevitable. So it is truly devastating. It's a real bummer for an episode 1.
So yeah, no trouble council. Pat gets pulled. Now, in post-game interviews, it sounds like Pat was going to be the first boot. It wasn't going to be Nick. So that's kind of been the consensus post. You never know what happens. If they get back to camp and things can go any which way after that. But it sounds like it would have been Pat. It sucks he had to go out this way.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, just because we were told basically the exact opposite, that it was going to probably be Nick.
So we're told that, I believe, primarily by Nick. And one of the things I wanted to talk with you guys about is, like, I think this actually shifts how Nick plays the game, where all of a sudden he feels like he's playing with house money. And I think his strategy changed. Like, I think he thought he was going home and decided he was going to play not with reckless abandon, but with no fear and no more reserve, because he changes after this episode.
He was on the table. So no trouble council, but we'll still do best and worst player anyway. For best player, I'm going to give mine to Kara. She made an alliance with Dan. She learned about the Idol, found it with him. And she was part of that Goliath tribe discussion on whether Mike or Natalie was going first. So I thought she had a really good episode.
I'm going best is Dan, because no one knows about the showmance yet, and if you can keep it under wraps and it doesn't become a problem, and you find an idol, even if 2 people know about it, at least the power is in your pocket, and it's on a tribe with a bunch of big egos where maybe they wouldn't be as threatened by something like that. So I really like what I see from Dan here in episode 1. And he's got a great underdog story within the Goliath tribe itself. So he understands what it's like to be a David and kind of transform yourself into, air quotes, Goliath.
I think those are both terrible picks just because of the showmance. I don't care if it's been publicized or not with the rest of the tribe. They're both buying into it and know the risks associated with that. That's a disqualifier for me.
You can do whatever you want in confessional.
Yeah, that's not confessional though. They're actually playing the game and having this showmance. So
we didn't see anything.
Except we saw everything.
Anyway.
We saw everything.
It worked for Rob and Amber.
Yeah, that's great. 1 out of 30 or however many showmances we've ended up having on this show. Great. Yeah, that's a great record. So definitely not one of them. It's like a 10-way tie for first place after them, just because there are a ton of alliances made in this episode. I went with Gabby just because it seemed like she was in a really positive spot going forward. She was really close with a couple of like the nerds, if you want to say, on the David side. And, she just seems really likable.
Okay, fair enough. Worst player, Derek, what do you got?
Yeah, I put down 2 candidates. Napalm Natalie for being herself, and Mike White for being himself and also getting a little caught up in the early game hunting for idols. I think it's easy to look at someone like Carl for, targeting someone like Nick, and then, Pat ends up going out of the game. But Mike is a big Survivor fan. He knew better and he went and did the thing anyway. They are looking for a reason to vote out someone like him with the prestige and knowing that he's going to hog screen time. And honestly, the fact that they know that he's really intelligent and knows how to weave a story. These are all reasons to vote him out fast. Don't give him another reason, Mike. So I'm going to give it to Mike White.
And I want to remind everybody real quick, Mike White's legacy with Survivor. He is the one who stopped Redemption Island from happening in San Juan del Sur, and he's the one who ended Fire Token. So Mike White,
yes,
big Survivor, has had a big Survivor impact even on seasons where he wasn't playing.
Yeah, he's got his hand in it a little bit, indirectly.
If you're wondering how he stopped that, it's just because he has a good relationship with Jeff Probst. It's not like he did, it's not like he came onto the island's like, no, stop, you can't do this. Although that'd be entertaining.
Jeff talked to him about hey, I got this idea and I got this idea, and he's like, ew, you're doing Redemption Island again? And with fire tokens, Jeff was coming up with all these like ways to add on to it for 41. And Mike's like, but is it fun? And Jeff's like, no, it's not. And he scrapped it all.
So thank you, Mike White, for that one. Though we'll always have Tony getting extorted on season 40. Fire tokens gave us that moment. Yes, so thank you, fire tokens, but you can leave. Yep.
Josh, worst player.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Where were we? Worst player. I did give it to Natalie just because I think it's a bit of a slam dunk here. She's just off to a just great start. And it doesn't really seem like she has the personality to recognize what she needs to do in this game. Dishonorable mention to both Kara and Dan. The only reason I didn't give it to them, one, because Dan found an idol.
There's no reason to.
And because Kara seems like there might be a little bit of strategy behind the flirting with Dan. But strong dishonorable mentions to both of them because you know what you're getting into and it's dumb.
Josh, we need to talk to you about your drinking problem.
You guys know I'm right.
As we give best players to them. Yeah, okay. My worst is Natalie as well. All right, so let's get into winner picks. So, Josh, do you remember who your original winner pick was for this season?
I do. It was, drumroll please, Allison. I just cause, I guess.
Would you stick with her?
I would. Just because I don't feel overly strong about anyone. Looking at the way that this is going, I think that, and actually I do remember the first time that I watched this season, I went in thinking like kind of a little bit more of in a meta way. When I first watched this season, when it was airing live, I had the opinion that Survivor editors kind of wanted a David to win, as far as just like, you can do it, don't judge a book by its cover. I think that a Goliath can just waltz right in, whatever. And I think you could still make that argument. But more importantly, I think we're going to quickly see that they're going to be at a really big disadvantage when it comes to challenges. And the first one was just a complete setup to have the Davids win when they're at the marooning. Like that was rigged to have the Davids win as long as they made the right choice for the puzzle. So I'm going to completely ignore that one. But for the rest of the immunity challenges, as long as there's anything physical, it's going to be an uphill climb. So I wanted to stay away from the Davids altogether. I did like from the Davids, Gabby and Carl. They both had some good confessionals and some good social moments in the premiere. From the Goliath side, I don't know. There's a lot of just weird personalities going on here. So it seemed like one of the safer ones that didn't have something big that would get them in trouble is Allison. So that's what I'm going to stick with.
Okay. I agree that the Survivor editors wanted a Davey to win from the get-go. So when I watched this first time, I wanted to pick a Dave. I figured there might be some sort of advantage for the Davids along the way that production would try and make happen. So I'm like, all right, I'll go with the David. Oh, and we should mention that, yeah, the Davids just got even more screwed because Pat was by far their biggest guy. Oof. And even he wasn't as big as John and Dan over on Goliath. But so my winner pick was Gabby originally. I'm going to stick with it. I like Gabby.
My original winner pick was never written down, but I will say my two finalists, I wanted someone from the Goliath tribe who I felt could connect with the Davids. I know, yeah, someone who can create great connections. What a novel idea to try and pick a Survivor winner. And then someone who I felt might be able to rise above the Davids by using strategic relationships. And for that, my two finalists are exactly the two people you already mentioned, Gabby and Allison. And when the season first aired, I remember thinking, I love what Allison did in that opening challenge. I love how she congratulated the Davids. I love the way she talked about alliances in the game here in season 1. She had a couple of good confessionals. And I don't want to sell this short either. She's a doctor. She's a physician. And those people have to work with all people, all walks of life in order to find success. And I saw that level of empathy and caring in her where I felt like, yeah, she can make good, strong connections with people. I'm going to go ahead and hitch my wagon to her horse if I can. So I'm picking Allison as my winner.
Okay. Well, we'll see how this goes. All of our picks make it to the merge, so we'll see what happens next time.
Go Team Allison.
No. Go Team Gabby.
Rude.
Episode 2, the chicken has flown the coop. No, the chicken was in season 15, China.
Damn!
So Christian and Nick are going to make an alliance, and they are called the Mason-Dixon Alliance, which that was a border between Maryland and Virginia, I think it was.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And, to create a border, and eventually, not right away, but eventually it kind of was the line where slavery was legal versus where it was no longer legal. You really want to name your alliance after that line? You sure?
It's a choice.
Christian's originally from Baltimore, Maryland, so that's why they picked that. Yeah, not what I would have picked for my alliance name.
Like, this is, I think, a perfect example of too clever by half. Like, yeah, it's clever because it's this historical document, and, it works geographically. But, like, let's dig down a little bit and see why this doesn't exactly work. But it has convinced me that when I get on Survivor, maybe I should name my alliance the Axis Powers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
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 Somebody Italian and somebody Japanese in your alliance?
Well, no, I'm thinking we need to have someone whose name is Axe, and then Shane Powers returns. And so we got the Axis Powers. And
Beautiful. Okay, so the weather is so bad that production is going to give both tribes a fire-making kit and a tarp. It's been like nonstop cyclone weather, so yeah. It's been a rough time for them.
And is this where they had changed to the all one season schedule for filming, and there was still like a dry season and rainy season flip-flop when they first were at Fiji?
Yeah.
Because I feel like we just had this what was it, last season or maybe 2 seasons ago, where they had to be evacuated?
2 cycles ago. It was Millennials versus Gen X.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. When the giant tree fell on the shelter and would have killed everybody.
It just seemed like deja vu with that.
So yeah, and then the next season in their production cycle was Game Changers, which had pretty fine weather. We're gonna have something similar here. David vs. Goliath gets wrecked by cyclones. Then Edge of Extinction, I think, was fine. So you definitely want to be on the second season, unless you want the full Survivor experience.
It's weird to think about how we only have a couple more seasons sequentially of 39 days. Like, that is almost done in the timeline here.
The Goliath tribe is going to notice Dan and Kara's showmance, and Natalie's even going to warn...
No way!
Natalie is going to warn Kara to cool it. Natalie, you got to stop warning people about stuff. Stomp on them. Put them further down in the pecking order so it's not you.
But guys, this wasn't a publicized showmance. What are you talking about? It wasn't public.
It is now.
It wasn't. Now it is. There's a before and after, Josh.
Who could have predicted that this was going to happen? Wow.
Hey, look, all we get is the information we have.
Kara wants to have other eggs in her basket. So she's going to make an alliance with Angelina and Natalia, and they are going to bring in Alec, Dan, and John. So the 6 of them, they want to take out Natalie first.
Fair.
There. Jeremy is going to search Dan's jacket. He's going to find the hidden immunity idol. Kara had been telling Dan to hide it and bury it somewhere. And Dan's like, well, nobody's going to search my jacket because nobody would think anyone would be dumb enough to leave it in there. Cut to Jeremy searching Dan's jacket. And then telling Mike, womp, womp.
I just love when, Zane Knight and is this Dan? What's his last name? Rangering. And what was it? Jacob from last season. Jacob Derwin. They're all just big braining their way through Survivor by doing the smallest brain thing that you can do.
On the David tribe, Davey's going to find the idol. So Davey's got the David idol.
That is 2 for the men and 0 for the women.
Womp womp. Kara wants to take out Lyrsa next. He sees her as the weakest, and so he's just talking to people about this. And Elizabeth, who is her alliance member, is immediately going to inform her of what's going on. Back in Goliath, Natalie is going to continue to irritate everyone, but John wants to keep her as an ally. And he's going to tell her that Dan wants her out. And so Natalie is going to proceed to confront Dan and then every other member of the Goliath tribe on why they want her out. You're not helping yourself there, Natalie.
He's trying. He's like, you know what? I'm going to stick up for you and try to coach you through it, which is a valid strategy. Because if, you're the one to like get her through this first initial hump of social awareness in the game, this could be your number one ally, who then you would probably beat in the end. So, I like the attempt.
And, we didn't get much of the Mr. Mayor of Slamtown in episode 1. He is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He's, again, a person, regardless of how it's going to go for him this season, I would love to have the Mayor of Slamtown back again. He is one of the most cut people to ever play Survivor. Like, not, necessarily physically the biggest. He's still huge, but I still like to make the joke that I don't think he's one Survivor. I think he's two Survivor players in a trench coat. And that trench coat just happens to have a six-pack and rippling pectorals.
And he's shockingly self-aware. I really noticed that this pre-merge. It's just like, wow, like he knows exactly what he needs to do in this game. Good job.
He seems like a happy, actualized dude, and I love to see that. I would love to be in an alliance with the mayor of Slamtown.
I don't know what it is about wrestlers, but they all seem like much more intelligent than you'd think and pretty happy guys.
Well, I mean, I see what you mean, but also Johnny Fairplay. I
don't count Johnny Fairplay. Johnny Fairplay, I don't count him.
He broke his face doing
real wrestlers.
Yeah, real.
I think
he didn't break his face during wrestling.
I thought he did.
It was during a award show.
But didn't he do like a wrestling thing?
He jumped on Danny Bonaducci's back, and Danny didn't like that and flipped him, and he landed on his face.
Oof.
I think there's something that has to do with it being fake wrestling.
Hey now, how dare you?
They know what's going on. They get the bit of it, and they know how to, I don't want to say exploit it, but just kind of capitalize the most from it. Whereas like if this was real wrestling or, they're like fighting, honestly, I would expect less.
I'm going to stand up for the WWE and the AWE community here. AWW, I think it's All World Wrestling. I can't remember.
You're asking the wrong guy.
It's not all scripted. A lot of it is actually just a live performance, and then it's just basically who can put on a better performance until the other guy runs out of stamina or the other person runs out of stamina. There are some set points, but they're still doing these cool things. Like, they still jump off of ladders and stuff. So, to Josh's point on fake, like, you don't fake jumping off a ladder. It's not your traditional mano-y-mano competition where it's like, you can exploit loopholes and do all these things. It's more of a show, and everyone knows what they're getting. But I will stand up for that community and say fake is not a fair word. I will say a touch scripted, and that it's more of a performance.
It is a performance. You are correct.
Were you guys ever into wrestling?
No,
absolutely not. I was never allowed to be.
Oh, never allowed to be. Yeah, I wasn't really either.
I just didn't care.
I thought The Undertaker was dope as fuck, though.
Yeah, I've seen maybe one wrestling match in my life. So, Jeremy wants to help Natalie out as well. They are both black. So, Jeremy wants to help her with her lack of awareness. It does not go well. These two, man, they do not like each other by the end of their runs.
No, it's rough. And look, I'm going to say it. Jeremy's an attorney. And I also like to point out that Nick Wilson is also an attorney. It's just, it's a thing that attorneys do where if you don't listen to what they say, sometimes they get kind of big-headed about it. Not every attorney, but I would say that the amount of times that this happens with an attorney is more often than non-attorneys. Jeremy, you have to understand that if you're going to approach Napalm Natalie, she's gonna spit hot fire at you.
Immunity challenge time. The hero section is going to be B versus Alec. Alec absolutely destroys B, and the Goliaths win immunity because of that.
Oopsie.
Whoops. So Lyrsa is the target, but Jessica and B, they don't do a good job of reassuring Gabby that it's Lyrsa. Gabby is very paranoid and thinks it's her, and Jessica and B are just too chill. They're just like, yeah, whatever. And they don't reassure her at all that, like, yeah, it's Lyrsa. So Gabby gets super paranoid. She, Lyrsa, and Elizabeth, they all talk, and they want to bring in Christian and Nick to target Jessica instead, because Jessica, Carl, and Davey are kind of a trio, and they think that would help break that up. And then with B as well. So Christian and Nick are the swing votes. Mason Dixon.
Yeah.
Woohoo. So yeah, they're the swings. They are going to side with Gabby, Elizabeth, and Lyrsa. It's going to be 5 votes for Jessica, 4 for Lyrsa. I think this makes sense because Christian is tightly aligned with Gabby, and Nick has an alliance with Elizabeth. So it makes sense that they go that way, because that's where their other people are besides the two of them. So I think taking out Jessica was a good move.
I think based on the makeup of the tribe, I don't want to say it was the only move, but it was the smart one. Especially for a pre-merge move where you might be able to clean all of this up before you get to a post-merge where these relationships can come back to bite you or come back to help you. Yeah, I like this move. Can we also laugh about the fact that Jessica was saying, well, Lyrsa, maybe you shouldn't have waited until Tribal Council to start playing the game. And then she immediately gets voted out.
Lol.
Oopsie.
I think this is a really good long-term move for this group of people, the majority. It's kind of it's a little bit like just kind of like a nerd alliance, and I think that works really well. When you're in, and I've said this before, but when you're in themed, especially seasons like this, there's gonna be a swap. You need to be expecting that, and you need to know that you have the largest group of people possible for whoever you might end up, aligning with, and you want them on your side. So if you are going to be taking out someone who might be a little bit stronger in challenges, honestly, I don't really care as long as you have more than one person to burn after that, which they do. I'm not too concerned about that. So I thought that this was a good long-term play for these guys.
Sure. For best player, unfortunately, I'm going to give mine to Nick Wilson. He made an alliance with Christian. He was part of the group to take out Jessica. And, so that's kind of a tie between him and Christian. I think Nick improved his spot in the tribe immensely. So Nick is my pick.
I hadn't really considered Nick. I don't remember Gabby's behavior coming across as all too paranoid, so I had written Gabby because I felt like she did pivot nicely to make sure that even though she had kind of turned into a quasi, not target, but considered to be a threat by, I don't know, the cool kids on the David tribe, she ended up in a really good majority based on the great connections that she had made. Again, I'm not remembering her being too paranoid. If that is the case, I would defer and say that I agree with Nick, but just because I'm not remembering it, I'll stick with Gabby for right now. But honorable mention to Nick.
I'm pretty sure she got pretty paranoid. I'm not saying that it wasn't warranted, but it was probably a little bit more than what was necessary for just the context of the situation. Now, it worked out, and I think it was good in the end for her, but it jumped it a little bit, I would say. For my best player, I also had Nick for everything that Ryan said.
Worst player, Derek, who do you got?
I went with Dan. I know that he has an idol, but his closest alliance member has officially decided to diversify away from him because he is leaning way too far into it. And I think a big part of it is I just started to get like that essence of clingy, almost like a little bit childish, almost like, wow, I can't believe a girl might like me. It's just doe-eyed, bushy-tailed, and it's like, this is not gonna go well for you because now you're kind of out in the cold and you don't even know it. So I had Dan. I can see arguments for others, but I think that he dropped really far from where I had his stock after episode 1.
I had Natalie. She had 2 separate people try to help her become more self-aware in this episode and decided to not only ignore them, but push back against them even further to reinforce exactly what they're saying. Also, Karen Dan's showmance or potential showmance is now public, but that all happened last episode. They started to get into that last episode, and
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they got in the showmance last episode. It wasn't public,
No,
but everyone knows that
public.
that's going to become public. So it's not anything that they did. People were just, cognizant of 2 people existing like they have this entire time, which was inevitable. So I'm not going to give it to Dan because of that. So it is Natalie for me.
I don't have a problem with Natalie, by the way.
Yeah, I mine is also Natalie. I wanted to give a dishonorable mention to B, though, and I would for Jessica as well if she was still in the game. But they did not handle Gabby well, and it cost them dearly.
Yes.
But my worst is Natalie. Episode 3, I Am Goliath Strong. So both Christian and Nick, they kind of pinned the decision to vote out Jessica on Gabby. Kind of leaves them with an open door to work with Carl, B, and Davey again. It seems to work. On the Goliath tribe, Mike is close to Jeremy, but he is worried that Jeremy is playing too hard. He's too paranoid. He might torch his own game. So Mike likes him, but is hesitant to work with him. That's a really good read from Mike. Can like somebody, but not want to work with them in the game because of whatever reason.
And I think that's an important distinction to make. We always are commending people for, yeah, you like them, but you gotta let them go.
Yep. B and Davey, they go to work on Nick. They want to take out Gabby next, and Nick is open to it because he knows Christian and Gabby are close, and he wants to be Christian's number 1. So if he takes out Gabby, Christian's got nowhere to go but to him. That's risky. That's a risky thing to do. I think Nick might be better served to work with Christian and Gabby. Make it a trio.
This is post-merge thinking.
Yeah.
Once you're starting to dwindle down in numbers and you're worried that someone might want to take someone else further than you, but you're like 1B, yeah, sure, try and find a way to take out their 1A so they are forced to work with you. We've had 1 real tribal council and 2 eliminations. You should be trying to expand your network now and not reduce it. There's no addition by subtraction here.
Yeah, and I'm
Fully roll.
gonna go back to also saying, what I was saying last episode, where a swap is extremely likely to be coming. You want those numbers, so if you're gonna try to split up that duo, like Derek said, do it in the post-merge or late pre-merge.
Jeremy, he's gonna get super paranoid. He sees people off talking. And we get a cut to the conversation. They're not talking gameplay. So Jeremy's going to hold a tribe meeting to try and stop the side conversations because they haven't lost the challenge yet. All this accomplishes is it makes more side conversations happen, but now they're all about Jeremy.
Yeah, you just gave everybody something to talk about. And not that this needs to be said or worried about so much in Modern Survivor, but one thing you need to think about in 39 Day Survivor is it can get pretty boring. If something interesting happens, everybody is going to talk about it. Battling the boredom is something that I genuinely miss about Modern Survivor. Jeff loves that it's fast-paced and balls to the wall, but there's a reason that like a solid group of 4 seems to make it far every time. It's because you don't have that time variable injected in there where people start to hate each other, or where those little idiosyncrasies start to seep through the cracks of their facades. So I love that Jeremy kind of blew his top a little bit and called an open forum. Don't do it. Bad Survivor. Great for me. I love this. Great for Natalie. Great for, all the people.
But then Jeremy is immediately going to start a side conversation with Alec, Allison, and Mike, and later John, about trying to break up Dan and Kara.
No more side conversations, except for me. Classic attorney.
He's going to tell them about the idol, and that he searched Dan's jacket, and this just makes everyone trust Jeremy less.
That's pretty smarmy, dude.
Yeah, as they should. You're like, oh, how do you know? Did he show you? No, I saw it in his jacket. Ooh. Don't like that.
Not great. Immunity challenge, the hero competition is B versus Alec again. This time they basically tie. But notably, B is going to injure her knee. More on this later. But this is a game-ending injury for B, it turns out.
Yes.
So that really sucks. But the Davids win immunity, so worth it.
That's something.
And this challenge, Natalie wanted to compete, and Angelina set out. And the puzzle at the end, Natalie was kind of worthless on it, whereas sitting on the sidelines, Angelina figured it out. And so Natalia is going to say, like, hey, maybe Natalie should have sat out, and Angelina should have been in, but people's egos got in the way, and she basically blames Natalie for the loss in front of everybody. She doesn't quite spell it out that much, but, just a little bit shy of that. We're going to find out B has sprained her MCL, which she has torn before. And so that's going to be the end of this storyline for this episode. We'll get back to it in the 4th episode. Angelina wants to change the game up. She doesn't want to get rid of Natalie. She sees Jeremy as more dangerous, so she wants him out instead. And pretty much everybody else is like, no, let's do Natalie. But Angelina is going to work super hard and push Natalia, Alec, and Mike and everybody towards Jeremy instead. Natalie knows she's in trouble. So she wants to try and talk to people without Jeremy around because, Jeremy would be the person to get out instead. And so Natalie's trying to talk to people, she asks Jeremy to go away, and it turns into this big blow up. Just wildness. But yeah, it does not end until Tribal Council, where basically Jeremy and Natalie are just railing on each other. And other people are going to say, like, yeah, Natalie, you do kind of come off as condescending, by the way. So Jeremy's not entirely wrong. You're like, yeah, you're pretty condescending. But it is going to be 9 votes for Jeremy, 1 for Natalie. It's unanimous. I can't argue it because, tribe stays united. It's pretty wild. I was pretty blown away that Jeremy got it out here. Yeah.
I can argue against it. If you're just looking at the end result of, let's plop us down at Tribal Council. Sure, they're all united and they decided on Jeremy. Great. The reasoning that this came up in the first place is Angela wanted to, get her out just because Jeremy was, either more untrustworthy or a bigger threat.
A bigger threat is what Angelina said.
A bigger threat. And I'm going to go back to, I think, something that I've said 3 times already, but, you want to have people who you can align with when a eventual swap happens. And I think she exactly said, like, if there's a swap, they're going to want to get Natalie out. It's like, that's not how it works. Like, it can work that way. And I know that, like, Spoiler alert, that's exactly what's going to happen. But you can't assume that. It is so much more likely that people would use someone like Natalie against you. So I did not like this move at all. I thought that this was really dumb.
So apparently Jeremy was even worse on the island than what we saw. So that colors this in a little bit. Apparently he was pretty unbearable by the end. I don't know. Take your pick.
My whole thing with Jeremy, it seems like he started off fine and everything just started to spiral when I think he started to get the sense that people were a little off-put by the way he was playing the game. He said that he's totally comfortable going through people's bags. They, of course, show us that he finds Dan's idol, but I'm guessing that a lot of people saw him going through different bags, and I mean, that's how you get a Weasel Woo nickname. Combine that with the fact that, okay, sure, on paper, in strength and in competitions like that, you want to maybe have Jeremy around. After he calls the open forum, it is time for everybody on that tribe to sit down and decide whether or not that's the kind of game they want to have to try and manage going forward. If you can pull it off, Boston Rob and Phillip. Like, I should say Boston Rob with Phillip. It could pay massive dividends. But let me be clear, Jeremy is a way more capable orator and web spinner than Phillip even thinks he is. So on that front, Angelina is right. And also, it also seems like Angelina's closer with Natalie than with Jeremy, even if Natalie gets on people's bad side. I don't mind Angelina pushing it a little bit. I think she pushes too hard. But like I said, I don't think anyone on the Goliaths were interested in playing Jeremy's game any longer. And everyone, kind of like Joe in season 50, it seems like you had to play the game Jeremy's way or there were going to be problems.
Yeah, I think that's also the other part of it. You know, choosing between Natalie and Jeremy is one thing, but I want to go to the original root cause of why Jeremy went home. And that's because Angelina put her foot down to be able to get Jeremy out just because that is what she wanted. And I don't think that that's a good move here in the pre-merge this early in the game. It's going to get a lot of visibility on you and it's going to put you in a threatening spot. So that's just why it's like, this was very unnecessary for right now. You can get Jeremy out literally whenever, and you can get Natalie out literally whenever too. I just feel like it would be harder to work with someone like Natalie.
I'm fine either way. What is interesting is Jeremy sucks in real life. So in the post-game press, he tried to paint as like Alice or Angelina and John like having a showmance just because they were going off together. They are both married or have like significant others in real life. So that was really crappy of him to do because it's not true. And everybody else is like, what are you talking about? So Jeremy, yeah, it was a big deal in his post-game press that, you know, he was saying all this and everybody's like, what the hell? Really crappy. And Jeremy's not going to show up at the reunion show probably because of this. So it sounds like this dude sucks in real life.
Attorneys, man. Let me tell you.
Josh, best player of the episode.
This was a tough one. I went with the person who I think was the only person to really benefit from this move. And I think that was the mayor of Slamtown. He was not very visible this episode, but he tried. He tried his best to, you know, work a little bit more with Natalie. And because he is essentially her only ally, this move of getting out Jeremy works out really well for him. And he didn't really have to make himself visible like Angelina did. So I kind of giving it him just a little bit by default, but more results oriented.
I give mine to Mike for not letting his personal feelings get in the way of severing ties with Jeremy.
I agreed with Mike White, and I'll just add on and say great, you know, recovery after episode 1 and then being a little bit, you know, less visible in episode 2, but building the social bonds in the meantime to find himself like squarely in the middle of the Goliath tribe now, as opposed to being the next one out. He has options because of what he's been able to do socially.
For worst player, I have Natalia. She called out Natalie after the challenge, didn't get rid of her. It's one thing if you call someone out and then knock them out of the game. Natalia's still got to live with her. So that's my pick.
I did pick the low-hanging fruit and say Napalm Natalie this time around. There's a reason she was drawing so much fire and the ire of a lot of the tribe. I know that Jeremy ended up being a near like unanimous vote here, but it still goes to show that, like, okay, just because Jeremy outdumbed you and out-bad played you this episode, you were still doing yourself no favors. I still remember at one point in this episode when she was talking, I think, to Jeff at Tribal Council, she said something along the lines of, well, I don't know why Jeremy hasn't approached me and tried to talk with me before this. It's like, do you mean when he tried to warn you because he wanted to play with you and you shut him down because you have no awareness? So I did have Napalm Natalie as the worst, but I said it could also been Angelina, depending on how badly Jeremy was actually playing. Having Ryan fill in the color a little bit that Jeremy was actually much worse, and then I had already talked about how I think that they all had to decide how they were going to play the game going forward. I don't think Angelina big-brained this. I just wanted to acknowledge to the listeners that there is a world where she big-brained this and should not have put her foot down that hard.
I will say that. I do think that this was a bad move, and it was pioneered by Angelina. The biggest thing is that she just has unnecessary visibility now. It's the pre-merge, pre-swap. This is very unnecessary right now. Is it a fine move? Like, to just get Jeremy out in general? Sure. But there's consequences to that. So I'm giving it to Angelina.
I think that's fair. I do think Angelina pushed way too hard.
I'm not going to fight it.
All right, episode 4, time to bring the charm apocalypse. So everyone's going to meet up, and B is going to announce she's pulling herself from the game. She's worried that her injury could affect her MMA career. Fair enough. No hard feelings for B quitting here. That this could affect her livelihood. So yeah, that totally fair. So goodbye, B. That sucks.
And I did want to look into this because I was curious. At this point, when she was quitting the game, she was just beginning her professional MMA career. There's like amateur, but then there's professional MMA. And I think she was either 2-1 or like 2-2 at this point in her career. Again, very early. And post injury, she ended up winning like 2 more matches and then losing 7. I'm not saying this injury caused it. I'm just saying like she was early enough in her career at that point where like an injury like this could devastate your fighting career. You can't abandon your livelihood or your dream or all your hard work like that. So while I don't love a quitter, I think that this is a different sort of situation.
This is outside of the game ramifications.
Yes, severe.
I have absolutely no issues with this. You see it in sports all the time. A sprain can turn into a devastating injury with just planting your foot wrong. And we're going to be going into physical challenges here, still early in the pre-merge. Sprains last a while, so it would essentially be her not competing really, or giving like 10% in challenges just to stay in the game. I don't think that's worth it. I don't think that that'd be, a good survivor player. So I'm perfectly fine with this. It seemed like Jeff was a little hard on her, like the way he was emphasizing the word quit. So be it, whatever. I just thought that was a little odd.
Also worth noting, I did not realize this. B is 4'11", 120 pounds because she's built with muscle, but like 4'11" has to like have her among like the smallest survivor contestants of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, and her fighter name is Killer B.
We are going to tribe swap. We're going to go down to 3 tribes. And what is this, Malolo? All of them have 3 Goliaths and 2 Davids. Womp. Womp. So, the tribes are going to get different names now because obviously it's not David versus Goliath anymore. It is Vuku, Javeni, and Tiva are the 3 tribes. So Vuku is going to be Alec, Kara, and Natalia, and they are joined by Davy and Elizabeth. Javeni is going to have Angelina, Mike, and Natalie, and they are joined by Lyrsa and Nick. They are not the best tribe.
No.
And then Tiva, which is just stacked. It is Allison, Dan, and John, joined by Christian and Gabby. They do not lose an immunity challenge. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, obviously Christian and Gabby are physically a little bit weaker, but they have powerhouses physically on their side that'll even it out. And they've got brains for days.
Yep. Brains for days.
They're basically the Brains tribe on the Bronze tribe.
Yep. And then Carl is going to get sent to Exile Island. He will join whatever tribe loses and vote somebody out, and then he will join.
Did this format change because of B quitting?
I don't think so. I think so. What I believe happened is B had announced she was going to quit, and they're like, "Hey, can you wait till tomorrow?" And then we'll get it all done, and then we'll just do the tribe swap then. So this seemed a little bit like pre-planned.
So the swap probably would have been one more episode later.
Probably.
Gotcha.
But so they did it at 16. So Elizabeth and Cara, they're going to bond over on Vuku. They were both involved in rodeos growing up. And it makes Natalia nervous that Cara might be getting too close to Elizabeth, but Cara reassures her that they're fine.
Don't underestimate those horse girls.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't their first rodeo.
It's true. On Exile Island, Carl is going to get a clue to advantage. Basically, it's in a coconut out in the ocean. drifting away. Go find it before it gets too far. But he is going to get the idol nullifier, brand new advantage. You play it during the vote. You write who you want to play it on, and if that person plays an idol, it is null and void. So this is a game changer. This is a big deal.
Absolutely.
So you don't want to tell people you have idols. From here on out, you really don't want to tell people you had idols because you never know when an idol nullifier it's going to find its way into the game, and then you're done.
Yeah, it was always bad, and now it's very bad. The penalty of leaked information is enormous. A lot of times we've talked in the past during, points of the game where idol nullifiers had already been introduced, where sometimes you can't play like an idol nullifier is out there, like you can't let that limit your decisions, but you absolutely need to be thinking about it. And I guarantee this thing is coming back in the open era.
Yeah, I think that's
in Survivor polyamory, it's coming back.
I think that's a good point, just because we've always said that, be careful with sharing that information. Not only do we have the idol nullifier, but in the open era, knowledge is power is going to be there as well, or at least it can be looming. You never know what's actually going to be in the game, so this just reinforces it.
Could be the medallion of power.
Let's hope.
Scariest of them all.
God, I hope the Medallion of Power comes back. I want it so badly.
I don't care what else happens on the season. If there's a Medallion of Power, I will consider it a top tier season of Survivor.
I will pop off. It'll be at least up there with Nicaragua.
I don't think Nicaragua's up there. I think they're just kind of out there somewhere.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Nicaragua's not up there. It's out there.
I don't know what this Cartesian graph looks like, but Nicaragua's out there somewhere.
Ancha Benny, Natalie doesn't want to bother getting to know Lyrsa or Nick because she wants them both gone, and then she continues to be really bossy. Natalie, this is not how you play Survivor.
This is how Natalie plays Survivor.
Natalie, this is how you play Survivor. Natalie, this isn't how you play Survivor if you want to do well.
Just unreal. So Nick's gonna talk to Mike, so Natalie kind of sucks, huh?
Hey, you see what I've been dealing with? Oh my.
So they're going to make an alliance and call it the Rock Stars based off School of Rock. So whenever they have a secret meeting, they do some air guitar.
So cheeky. It is funny though. I wish we would get some Bill and Ted's just like Wild Stallions, but we don't get it. Missed opportunity, Survivor. Do it in post.
And Mike is going to tell Nick that Dan has an idol. So now Nick knows this. Christian and John get along super well. Because Christian's got a lot of questions about how the government of Slamtown works.
The demographics of Slamtown. So how does one become a Slamtonian?
Gotta get slammed by the mayor.
So the denizens of Slamtown are the people that you have done the slamming to. Oh, cool. I can be the person of awesome stuff. I can't remember what it is.
He asks us if they're like the comptroller.
Yeah, the comptroller.
Can I be the comptroller of Slamtown? I'll be the HAS.
So they're great. They're great. What we're going to learn is Christian and John, they got along super well, but John would not really talk strategy with Christian. So they get along great. There's never really an alliance here. It's just like people who really like hanging out with each other.
I could see that.
They're broing out.
It makes Gabby worried about her spot in the tribe. She's a breakdown. Christian's going to comfort her, make sure she's feeling okay. Immunity challenge is a blindfold challenge. One person's in the hero role. It is Kara versus Angelina versus Gabby. Tiva wins. Jabeni gets second. Kara blew it. Vuku is going to tribal council.
Oops.
Yeah, this seemed like a good moment for Gabby, just because she went from being really concerned to kind of just being that hero, and they can see more value just from her as a tribe member. I like that.
Yeah, it was nice. So Davey or Elizabeth's going. The Goliath's got the numbers. It's Davey or Elizabeth. Who do we get? Elizabeth and Davey, they go off on an idol hunt in the jungle. This is Elizabeth's idea, and Davey goes along with it, even though he already has the idol, but he can't let on. So you got to put in some work and pretend that you got to find the idol too, even though you already have it. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
But when it appears the Goliaths are not going to budge, they turn on each other. Alec wants Davey out, but Natalia is going to shut him down, and not very nice about it. She's not the nicest person this episode. She really just shuts him down.
Natalia lets out her inner Natalie.
Yeah. And she insists that it should be Elizabeth. And so Davey, sensing the opportunity, starts working Alec. Like, are you sure you trust these girls? And Alec's like, nope.
Funny you should ask. No. I do think it's more like Inception. Like, Alec, I don't think you trust these girls. No, I don't.
And
I don't trust these girls.
Timing is really everything when it comes to these types of moves, and I think that Davey perfected the timing aspect to when he poked and prodded here with Alec, and he did it perfectly.
So we're gonna go to tribal council, and Elizabeth is gonna keep harping on about how you gotta make a big move, and this apparently convinces Alec. We get a live tribal because he starts whispering her to her during tribal council to change the vote up. It ends up being 3 votes for Natalia, 1 for Davey, 1 for Elizabeth. Wow. Alec, why?
Like, I know it seems like we kind of sped through that, but that's kind of how it happened in the episode. It's like, all right, David is definitely going home here. It's definitely going to be Davey. It's definitely going to be Elizabeth. Oh, boy.
Yeah, I think this changed last minute at tribal council because Elizabeth got in Alec's head.
Oh, no.
And it's so funny because, the whispering's happening and Natalia and Cara are very concerned.
As you should be. Like, there's
As you should
literally no reason to do this.
Natalia constantly going to Jeff, I didn't like that. What was that? That wasn't a part of the plan. Why did he do that? What's going on? What are we doing?
Looking at Alec and he's just shrugs. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Pay no attention.
What's the goal
here?
What are we doing? What's going on?
This was the wrong move. It should have been Elizabeth, maybe Davey. Doesn't matter. What are you doing, Alec? This is bad.
Yeah.
Hilarious, but bad.
Yeah, it's bad. It's even worse that it happened at tribal council. I think he should stick with the girls. He should not let them get in his head as far as do you really trust them? Because they're going to try to do that. If they're good Survivor players, they're going to try to get you questioning that alliance when it comes to a swap. You should just expect that. It goes back to last season when I was talking about obviously this person doesn't have an idol. That's their one move is to lie about it. How could you be so foolish to fall for that? Alec here, of course they're going to say, do you trust them? You really shouldn't. Of course they're going to say that because they're in a desperate situation and that's their first move. However, if you really do not trust the two of them and you want to flip on them, decide it before tribal council so you can clue in Cara. There's no reason. All you have to do is tell her hey, I don't trust Natalia and I think we should take her out. I've already made up my mind and we're gonna have the majority. At least she's clued in and it can be a majority vote and you don't lose her trust. Now it's all up in the air about whether or not she's ever going to trust you again. Terrible.
It is interesting because we talk about how there are very few live tribals. I think this was one with specifically Alec's vote. I think that was it. Whether or not this was the right move, there is a world where a better explanation from Alec, given how hot-headed Natalia was and how demanding she was, it's clear that the Goliath tribe is full of egos. And it's hard to manage those egos as you progress further into a game and the numbers start to become more compressed, you're in closer quarters. There's a world where I can be convinced that Natalia was bad for Alec's game. But on paper, that's not what we saw. That's not what we got. Natalia and Alec and Cara were very good with one another. I'm not saying that they were in an alliance of 3, but they were
They were in an alliance of 6?
Yeah, right. They were together. So on paper with the info that we have, this makes no sense.
And then add in that Carl is joining them. So now it is 3, with Natalia going home, it is now 3 Davids, 2 Goliaths.
It's so strange. It's so strange. And this is going to send a message to your alliance of 6 when you get back. You're going to show up to the next challenge and so-and-so is going to be gone. And unless they find out that, Davey played an idol, not that they know about it, but Davey played an idol, saved himself, and Natalia went home.
Yep.
All right, cool. Plausible deniability. Everything is still hunky-dory, at least as much as it can be. They should have forced that. Now, that said, let's say Davey was the target. Maybe Natalia was always going home because he would have played his idol to save himself. But it should have never happened like this.
But I think Elizabeth was the target.
I think you're right.
Natalia said so.
Natalia was going to get her way.
So yeah, this is hilariously bad. And I love it. I'm so here for it. God bless Alec.
This is the type of Survivor that I love to watch.
Yep. Alec is a lot of fun. He's not great at Survivor, but he's a lot of fun this season. Okay, Natalia goes home. Carl joins Vuku. We're still 5-5-5. Because 2 people went home in this episode, we are allowed to give out 2 best and worst.
Nope.
And I'm very glad we do get to do that this time because I think there are legitimately 2 people who deserve best and 2 people who deserve worst. So I'm glad that we have the opportunity to do this. Derek, best players, plural, of the episode.
Yeah, I'm picking one like a normal person, like a normie. It's Davey, and it's not close. I don't even need to explain why.
Just one?
Yeah, just one. I said I'm picking one like a normie. I'm done.
Boo.
I'm also only picking one because I don't count Medivacs. Like, no, absolutely not.
Hey, you gave out a best and worst for episode 1?
Yeah, that's because there was no other person that went out.
I thought you didn't count Medivacs.
Tribal Council was canceled. Tribal Council was not canceled here. This person quit, actually. It was not a Medivac. So, no. I'm also just going with Davey. It seemed like he was the one who planted the seeds to get into Alec's head. Kudos for Elizabeth for sending him over the edge on that, but I'm going to give, I think, most of the credit here to Davey. And also, it seemed like he really wasn't ever in consideration as one of the two Davids on the outside. He got his way in effectively enough to where if it wasn't going to be flipped over on Natalia, that it was going to be Elizabeth. So great for him.
My first goes to Davey. He went on the idol hunt, even though he already had the idol. He was willing to turn on Elizabeth if he needed to. He got Alec on his side, took on Natalia, held on to his idol. My second one is Elizabeth for bonding with Kara, being willing to turn on Davey, and seemingly being the person who caused the live tribal at Tribal Council to get Alec to flip. So I'm giving both of them best players, and I think they very much deserve it.
Honorable mention to Elizabeth. Yes.
Honorable mention to Scarlet Witch.
You could bump it up and give her a best player.
No, I don't think I will.
I don't think I will.
You guys are no fun. Worst players, plural. Josh, who do you got?
Oh, man.
And again, there's two big ones.
I'm going to go with Alec here. I really don't need to lay it out, but if you are going to make the decision to flip and put your original tribe at a disadvantage, knowing that Carl is going to come in and give the Davids a numerical advantage on this tribe of 5, the least you could do is let your alliance member know ahead of time so that you don't burn her and cause her to not trust you going forward. So, yeah, it's Alec and just Alec.
I have Natalie and Alec. Natalie doesn't want to get to know people because she just wants them gone. And then Alec just made a boneheaded mathematical nonsense move, handed the majority to the Davids. So both Natalie and Alec.
I mean, it's Alec. Dishonorable mention to Natalie once again, but I mean, on paper, this might be one of the most confuzzling Survivor moves of all time.
All right. Episode 5, Jackets and Eggs. Lol.
Legendary episode of Survivor.
What could this be about?
Might I add.
This is one that aired, one of the ones like the Road to 50. This was one of the ones that aired in the on the lead up to season 50 because
it's got to be funny. For featuring Angelina. Yeah.
So Alec and Kara talk, and Alec promises that they're still together, but Kara is going to start throwing him under the bus to the Davids. It does not work on Elizabeth. Elizabeth wants to keep Alec because she thinks Alec is more likely to work with them in the future. I agree with that read.
I would hope so.
The guy who flipped on the Goliaths at an alliance within the Goliaths for no reason to the complete benefit of the Davids? That guy? I'm not going to say it's not a fair read by Elizabeth. I'm just not going to say it's a good one.
For the sole reason.
It's a good and fair. It's just not impressive.
You're right. It's a correct read, but it's not an impressive one.
Again, for the sole reason of trust as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm Elizabeth Davey, I want Alec around forever.
Let's keep this guy.
Cyclone is going to roll in, a bad one. Everyone's going to get evacuated. Good thing, too, because both the Jabeni and Tiva shelters collapse. So yeah, good call. Reward challenge. Vuku's going to win, Jabeni gets second, and Jabeni is going to win eggs. Jackets and eggs. So, big part of the episode. Natalie and Lyrsa are going to get into an argument about how to cook the eggs. It's Natalie's way or the highway, even though Lyrsa went to culinary school. Again, stupid thing to argue about. Like, even if you are an expert, okay, so what Lyrsa should do is like, hey, I went to culinary school. Let's do it this way. And if Natalie has to have her way, let her do it her way, screw things up, and you can talk about it behind her back.
Oh, gosh, I know you want to talk about her behind her back, but man, it would suck if you lose good eggs because Natalie's being Natalie.
The fight is not worth it.
No, it's not, because she's in the minority. She needs to try and make the other person look more, I guess, like displeasurable. She needs to assimilate.
John, Dan, and Christian, they are going to form the Brochachos, which is not really an alliance. It's just a friendship group. Yeah, again, there was no real strategy talking here, according to exit interviews. It was just like, dude, we get along really well. We can bro down. We like to hang out. But, I think John and Dan at this point are very Goliath strong. And they see Christian as a huge threat. They like the guy, because how could you not? But I don't think they had ever had any interest in working with him long term.
It's like me against you guys in board games. Like, love you guys. Hope you lose.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait to kick you out.
Well, and it also helps that they don't go to tribal council here in the pre-merge. So it can just be a alliance, even though it's a friendship, because we don't need to see strategy because no one needs to go home yet. So that's all, it can just be the Brochachos still.
They put the lie in alliance.
I want to emphasize, though, even if it's not an alliance with strategic talk on paper, this is still great for Christian because, Gabby's worried that she's on the outs. Well, she is, because Christian has assimilated himself better with Dan and John than Gabby has been able to do with Allison thus far. And even if Allison and Gabby do like each other, I don't know that Allison would be able to convince Dan and John to let Christian go at face value at that point. So what Christian is doing here is not without merit. It's not without value. It's just not a Brochacho alliance.
Dan's going to go idol hunting. He's going to find the clue. And it's one of these ones where you got to get the idol during the challenge. I love this.
Love these.
More often.
Bring it back. Survivor Polyamory 51. Bring this one back.
This is so fun. So we're going to go to the immunity challenge. Dan is going to get the idol. Vuku and Tiva win, sending Jabeni to tribal council. I really like the tribe name Jabeni. It's just a fun word to say.
It is, in fact. Boy, howdy, are we in for some fun with the Jabeni tribe.
Yeah, it's going to get real Jabeni up in here. Lyrsa and Nick, they want Natalie out for being insufferable, because of course. But the Goliaths, they want to stay Goliath strong, take out Lyrsa, because this tribe sucks at challenges. Nick is the only one who's like kind of competent. So get rid of Lyrsa. Angelina does not have a jacket, and so this is kind of like the crappy like sexist stuff that Survivor does. A lot of the times the women just get a bathing suit. If you're gonna let some people have jackets, let everybody have jackets.
Yes.
It's kind of BS that Angelina wasn't allowed to bring a jacket out for whatever reason. It's fine. Let them have the dang jacket. But she wants Lyrsa or Nick's jacket when they go. She wants one of them to leave it behind so she can use it for the rest of the game. So, but she doesn't want to do this herself. She convinces Natalie to do the dirty work for her. So Natalie basically tries to blackmail Nick and it's like, hey, how much you want your jacket? Would you give it up to stay in the game? And Nick's like, are you trying to blackmail me? And Nick's going to tell us he doesn't like bullies and people who are mean to other people. Well, guess what? F you, Nick. F you.
Yeah, I did go, and because there's a big, long confessional where Nick's like, this is coercion, this is extortion, and you know what? I don't stand for bullying. Okay, Nick, then how about we don't try and legislate gender-affirming care and legislate trans people out of existence? I mean, but on the flip side, though, he may be anti-bullying, allegedly, but I hear that he might be pro-incest.
Yeah, so
that's a deep cut,
too. He tried to get this bill passed, and accidentally, the way it was worded, basically legalized incest between cousins.
Yeah, it legalized marriages between first cousins in Kentucky, or at least that's how it went through as proposed or something. Yeah,
so he realized what he did wrong and swapped it out for a revised version. Yeah, that was a new story.
That was Nick's spotlight moment in national political media for a little while. That was funny.
Nick's anti-trans, pro-incest.
Whoops.
God, this guy sucks so hard.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, am I right? So yeah, Nick allegedly doesn't like bullying, but then proceeds to punches all the way down. God. Oh, but he did it for the kids. Shut up, Nick.
For the game of Survivor, is this kind of like a gray area as far as, because, you can't bribe people, you can't collude with people. Can you barter and like coerce to give you items in order to not get voted out?
If Rupert can steal their shoes, Natalie can say, I won't vote you out if you give Angelina your jacket. Like, you just can't collude to share prize money, and you can't hit people. This is perfectly illegal. It's a horrible idea.
Yeah, definitely, like, at worst, a gray area. And then production's like, yes, I love it. Do more.
It may be in a gray area on the map, but production has circled it and said, please go there. Please.
Yeah,
I'm begging you.
There will be things that are like a little iffy, and if it's like good for production, if it's like entertainment, they'll probably let it slide. So Nick's pissed off, and then Natalie's just, or you could like steal Lyrsa's jacket.
No,
give up your own to stay in the game. No,
Just steal the whole jacket.
So all of this, Mike has had enough of Natalie. And so this is interesting because Mike White is a wealthy guy. I would suspect he did not think he really had much of a chance at winning Survivor, but just wanted the experience, wanted to try his best, wants to have fun. And Natalie is not fun.
A reminder that he's a fan of the game. So like, it's not just like, oh, this random reality show that he wants to go beyond. Like, no, he likes the game of Survivor and he wants to have the full experience and wants to have fun doing so. Win or lose, he just wants to get the full experience.
And so I think he's probably thinking, okay, I want to enjoy the rest of my time here. It might be smart to try and go to the end with Natalie. I don't care. I'm done. I want her out. And, if you're specifically Mike White, I understand. But if you're anybody else, really, if you're really trying to win and think you can win, Natalie's like the perfect person to take to the end.
And here's the thing, and she has proven, I know I said before, like, you don't know what she's going to do. Come a swap, she could flip right over onto the other side because she didn't get along with you guys. And you got to be aware of that, and you should probably take her out now instead of Jeremy. I'm immediately proven wrong because she doubles down and says, I'm Goliath strong. We're, going to take these guys out. She does not care about anything else. It's, us Goliaths, we're going to roll together. Very old school Survivor style. Shocker. So I was wrong on that side of it. So with that, yeah, you're probably fine taking Natalie to the end because I don't think she's ever going to be a concern to flip.
Yeah, based on what we see, I would agree. She might be the most pro Goliath strong, which is wild. But Mike's had enough. He and Nick talk. They want to get Angelina on board, and Angelina eventually is like, yeah, okay, let's get rid of Natalie. But Angelina plans to vote for Lyrsa because she wants to try and get Natalie's jacket. So she's going to pretend like, oh no, what happened? Oh no, I'm so sorry, Natalie. I can't believe this happened. Can I have your jacket? Natalie. So Tribal Council, it is 3 votes for Natalie, 2 for Lyrsa, and Angelina is going to try to get the jacket. It does not work. Natalie completely ignores her. And she's going to tell us in her final confessional that it's like, I don't know if Lyrsa was involved, or I don't know if Angelina was involved or not, so I ain't going to give her the jacket. So hilarious. This is the wrong move. It should have been Lyrsa. Mike White, I understand.
What's interesting is, Ryan, I got to say, I don't agree. I think that this is actually a perfectly good move because if you're Lyrsa and you're Nick, obviously you're just happy it's not one of you. Napalm Natalie is basically universally reviled on the Goliath tribe. So like if you found out she got voted out, everyone would be like, all right, not ideal, but like I get it. And maybe she was causing problems because she knew she was on the bottom of the Goliath tribe. After they've been gone for a week now. This is like day 6 on the swapped tribes. So it's like maybe she was connecting with the Davids because she knew she was on the bottom of the Goliath tribe. This is just plausible deniability, but also remembering that Mike White was pretty like low to low mid on his position in the Goliath tribe and getting rid of Napalm Natalie, but saving a couple well-connected Davids in the meantime introduces chaos into the mid-game if you make it that far. For that reason, all you need is for it to be good for Mike White and then 2 other people for it to be good for the majority of people. This is not necessarily good for Angelina because Angelina and Napalm Natalie, they get along. But I think this is good for Mike White specifically on this tribe, and for that reason, this was the right move.
I think if Mike is going to have a shot at winning, he needs Natalie.
I just don't think that we're there yet. I don't think that's true. I don't think we're there yet.
Well, it's going to be wrong sometimes.
It's not. I'm not wrong.
I think this comes down to how much you might need some of these Davids. Because I do agree. I do think that Mike needs to anticipate who he can beat at the end. I know we're still in the pre-merge. And usually I don't like thinking about these things right now for 99% of people. Mike is in that 1% that he already needs to be thinking about that. So if Natalie needs to go all the way to the end and you need to, maybe have a little bit less fun of a Survivor experience because of it, That's the price you pay in order to win the game. And on this podcast, we are consulting based off of winning the game, not having a fun game. I understand why might do this, and I think it's hilarious that he would take out Natalie because of that. However, for the sole purpose of winning the game, I do think that it was a bad move with that. However, if you think that it is more valuable to be able to work with Nick and Lyrsa in the future, okay, that might be a good enough argument then to take out Natalie. So this was a toss-up for me. I said fine? Question mark? Just because it seemed like he was really valuing being able to align with the Davids.
Not to pull up my inner Napalm Natalie here and get the last word, and I probably don't even have the last word, but my refutation to that is, even if you take it head to head between the two options, like let's say it was Nick and Napalm Natalie on the table. Okay, maybe Mike White can't beat Nick. Then he should vote out Nick. But because it's Lyrsa and Napalm Natalie on the table, Nick and Mike were talking about how Lyrsa is kind of like a nothing in this game. Mike knows that he can beat Lyrsa in a head-to-head, even at this point in the game.
I don't think that's true.
I do. I do think it's true.
I think people are going to be like, Mike's rich, he doesn't need the money.
People might be like that, but if Lyrsa is as much of a nothing in the game as it's being made that she is, he can beat her.
There's plenty of time to no longer be a nothing.
Well, if that's the case, then there's plenty of time for Mike to find other ways for him to win.
I don't think that's true. I think Mike is extremely limited on who
you don't get to apply variable T to Lyrsa's benefit and not to Mike's benefit. That is not how analysis works.
Watch me.
You can do what you want, but the listeners will decide, and I will be right.
No, it's different because it is known that Mike is rich.
It may be known.
Still, there's your constant. Mike is very limited on who he can beat. Very.
And I think Lyrsa is one of the people that he can beat.
And Lyrsa can change her gameplay to be less of a nothing. Mike can't change the fact that he's rich.
I understand what you're saying, but Lyrsa's still a nothing in the game.
And you value that a lot of the time in pre-merges because you chameleon your way to the end.
Well, no, so you combine the fact, because you're just focusing on the head-to-head aspect. My primary argument is that this opens up chaos in the game because Mike was already in the mid to low portion of the Goliath tribe, and by getting rid of Napalm Natalie and building bonds with the David, he introduces chaos into the game. And then on top of that, it's not like he kept a strong David in the game to do that. He kept in one of the weakest Davids in order to build bridges. So he accomplishes two goals.
Sure, he builds bridges, but he needs Natalie. He needs her.
No, he does not need Natalie.
He needs her.
If he needs Natalie, then he's already lost.
It then very well could be the case.
And I'm not going to act like he has. I understand we need to factor in that he's rich, he's famous, he's known, and then there's a certain level of universal constant applied to his aura, so to speak, like the gravity that he brings. But all things combined, this was a good move for Mike. And I am setting my ways on this.
Well, you know.
No, well, you know.
It's wrong. No, I don't think Mike can't win at this point. I think there are people he can beat. It's just very, very few. Natalie, Angelina probably, maybe Elizabeth. That's about it.
If you think that he can't beat Lyrsa but can beat Angelina, I don't see that.
I'm just going off of vibes of people not really liking Angelina and people not really liking Elizabeth because, you know, we'll get into more Elizabeth back problems. She was in a lot of pain, and I know she aggravated some people with that. So that's a guesstimate. That is a guesstimate. So yeah, if you're rich, you get to the end and people like you, and you go to the end with two unlikable people, that's your best chance.
Yeah.
You also have to get there.
Best player, I have Dan. Bonding with Christian, he found the idol clue, got the idol.
As much as I hate to say it, I'm giving it to Nick. Both Davids on that tribe end up surviving this, and it's because of Nick's Rockstar alliance with Mike that this is able to come to fruition. If there was no bridges for Mike to build, I think he stays Goliath strong, keeps the facade up a little bit longer, and Lyrsa and or Nick goes home.
That's fair.
I also had Nick. I guess an honorable mention to Dan, though.
I did have honorable mention to Dan. So.
Yeah, basically for everything that Derek said. Did a great job at getting Mike to peel off here.
Worst player, Derek, what do you got?
Yeah, I made an interesting note on this because I always take these notes, before I start the next episode, and this is going to pay immediate dividends starting at the beginning of the next episode. I was having a really hard time finding a definitive worst in this episode, but I landed on Angelina, maybe, ? And then I wrote a note, and Ryan can confirm this. It depends on the perception of the Lyrsa vote, because she threw away a vote on Lyrsa to try and get a jacket. And this might be something that I remembered. I don't remember how much they actually touched on it in this episode. Did it show her?
It was more in the next episode.
It was more in the next episode, but like she voted for Lyrsa, and I was like, okay, I'm not sure if that was the plan. I don't know why this happened, but it seems like it might be plausible deniability. I don't know why you would do that for someone with the pre-merge. We're going to get into that in the next episode, but I said Angelina maybe, just because she was clearly in the know on Natalie going home. Why did she vote for Lyrsa anyway when Lyrsa was still going to be in the game? So I said, the answer is to get a jacket. We don't know that yet, but I said Angelina maybe. If I'm allowed to peek 5 minutes into the future,
you're good.
It's definitely Angelina.
I actually also had it blank for a while because I was not really sure just what to do with everything that was going on here. Mainly because I thought that Angelina did a decent job at getting Natalie to do the dirty work for her. Now, it ended up coming out a little bit at Tribal Council that Angelina had a little bit to do with it. So that erases away enough for me, I guess, to give it to Angelina. Honestly, it's not very strong though, but yeah, I'm still going to give it to her.
So all of that, I agree, it's Angelina, but also the fact that getting rid of Natalie is bad for Angelina.
Yes, also a good point. Because they were close. Yeah. Or maybe not close, but like Angelina and Natalie were good with each other.
They could work together. So that's one less number for Angelina. Last episode, episode 6, aren't brochachos just adorable? So Mike, Lyrsa, and Nick, they all talk. They all see Angelina as fake and cutthroat. Fallout from the Jacket Gate situation. So yeah, Angelina has burned some stock. They would all like her out next, but Mike is concerned that if he votes out Angelina next, that could damage his relationship with the Goliaths. So he wants Angelina out, but just because of perception, he's hesitant to do it. So key in this episode, because spoilers, Jabeni's gonna lose again.
Spoiler alert.
On Tiva, Gabby knows she's on the bottom. Dan has not really talked game with her at all. She and Allison talk, and they decide to work together because Allison sees Dan as a huge threat. It's not if she's going to betray Dan, it's when. So yeah, that seems to bear some fruit. An alliance between Allison and Gabby is potentially born here. We are going to learn Elizabeth has back problems, and she decides to try and make the shelter more comfortable. The problem is she starts doing this pretty late in the day, and apparently this project probably will take longer than that, and then she won't be able to get it all done today. But she starts doing this with Kara's help. Carl and Davey think this is an all-day project, and they just put everything back the way it was. They undo all the work she does and puts it all back, and they're like, we can do this tomorrow. And Elizabeth's pissed. And so she goes out to get more bamboo and brings it in. She almost knocks Carl into the fire doing it. And then she chews them out, and then the two of them aren't great either. So the three of them all kind of get into it, and now Carl wants Elizabeth out. And this whole thing was so dumb. Just a little bit of communication would have gone a long way here. Like, hey, I need to change the shelter. I haven't slept in 5 days. And maybe just change like a section of it, not do all of it. And Elizabeth just sleeps on that section.
That's the easy solution here. I don't know why that would be particularly impossible. I don't even know why, just for a night, because the cyclones seem to be gone. Why can't she just take her halved bamboo and like put it on the sand and just sleep like that for a night? I understand that she's in pain. And I understand that they're all starving, but I do put this whole situation more on Elizabeth than on everyone else. That said, I don't think that Davey needed to just like rip all the bamboo off without talking to her about it. It feels like almost everybody involved in this is acting about as immature as they could given the low stakes here.
Yep.
Yeah, this seemed just bad all around and unnecessary all around. You got to communicate. I want to give Elizabeth the benefit of the doubt here, but at the same time, it is on her to begin that communication. So it's almost like bad at the beginning by Elizabeth, bad later by the guys for not recognizing a little bit more the situation.
Yeah. And I want to talk about just, this isn't necessarily life advice, but this is something that, I don't know, as someone who has been married and in a relationship for a really long time, this feels like something that I've learned very slowly over that time. Let's say that you're just kind of fine with the way things are, but someone else cares very strongly that a change needs to occur. By going in and very flippantly ripping the bamboo and kind of like nullifying some of the work that she'd done so far without talking to her, Davey is very much, and Davey and Carl are discounting how much this actually means for her to just like, to get fed up and start doing this right now. It means a lot. For me in my life, if I see that Sarah gets up and she starts doing a specific chore and it's like 8:30 p.m. and the kids are just in bed and we're exhausted, but she's getting up and she's doing this thing, it's time to get up and help her do the thing. Because we're both exhausted, but clearly this is eating at her so much that this needs to get done. Even if there's 2 hours of sunlight left in Fiji, if this is killing Elizabeth so much and you're on her tribe, you're a David with her, you could really build a bond by helping her do this, even though it's fruitless. We've already seen Davy go off on a fake idol hunt with Elizabeth. Why can't we just split a little bit of bamboo? And then when you can see that she's starting to realize the job's not going to get done, you can say, hey, Elizabeth, why don't we just try and find a stopping point for tonight? We'll make sure you've got a better sleeping situation. I promise I will help you work on this tomorrow. Then everybody's happy. You've built a good bond and you've been a good person in the meantime. And hopefully this TED Talk from Derek on marriage and relationship advice can help stop one fight for some listener out there in the near future.
And maybe stop a fight when they're on Survivor.
Sure.
Yes.
So yeah, Elizabeth could have communicated this better. Carl and Davey were jerks.
Yes. That's in summary.
Immunity challenge, Tiva and Vuku are going to win. Jabeni is going back to tribal council. At this point in the game, it is 7 David, 7 Goliath. So it's a big vote between Angelina and Lyrsa. Mike, again, would rather take out Angelina because he gets along with Lyrsa better, but thinks it would be worse for his game long term. Nick wants Angelina out because obviously. So yeah, it basically is a conversation between Nick and Mike about which way they're going to go. They agree they need to be on the same page, but they both have a different perspective. But it is end up going to be 3 votes for Lyrsa, 1 vote for Angelina. The most important thing is that Nick and Mike agree, and then that they don't lose their relationship working. Like they come to an agreement. They did. This is obviously better for Mike than Nick, but I think Mike can play the card like we got rid of Natalie last time. Now it's Lyrsa's turn. Now it's a David turn. You and me were good. If we lose again, we'll get rid of Angelina. So better than having a tie. And this can create a potential alliance between the Rockstars and Angelina. So, like, either one is fine as long as Nick and Mike stay together, I think.
Yeah.
Right. And because you mentioned, like, as long as they're good and they know that Angelina is next, we have artificially synthesized a Matt Singh situation here midseason. Like, I know that these are not original tribes, but again, these are elongated seasons. They have been together now for 9 days. That's an eternity. That is so long in this game. And what have you done for me lately? They need to start thinking about a Matt Singh situation where, like, hey, these other tribes haven't lost yet. They're going to come in. They've spent all this time together. They're going to start eating each other. And we need to make sure that we're good so that we can slide between the pieces. It's just something to think about. And if Angelina gets to come along for that too, awesome.
I think a good point as well is that Angelina can act a little bit like a shield just because she has been, going back to her visibility earlier on. She has been more visible in the pre-merge. So once the merge rolls around, her name is likely to come up before either of yours. So if you want to keep her around for that purpose too, I think that's a point in her favor versus Lyrsa. I don't think anyone's going to be targeting Lyrsa in the early post-merge.
So for best player, Josh, who do you got?
I gave it to Mike for ultimately, I think, making the right decision. One, that Angelina can be a shield. Up in the air, whether or not she's going to be someone who is unlikable enough to be able to beat in the end. But I think that you have a better shot at moving along in this game a little bit more with her versus with Lyrsa. And just in that dynamic of him and Nick specifically, if you are going to be able to get a Goliath to stay in the game when you're at a tie, I'm going to consider that a win as well, since Nick is motivated to keep Lyrsa in the game. So between the two of them, I think that that's really beneficial to see that he was able to get Lyrsa to go home instead of Angelina. I do want to say honorable mention to Gabby and to Allison, because they made a little alliance with the brochacho-ness going on. And I think that Gabby is the big beneficiary to that potential alliance forming.
Yep. I agree with you. I had Mike.
So I did actually go with Allison. The reason being is she's building bonds with the Davids, but she's on a tribe that's functioning very well, isn't really in any danger right now. I stayed away from Mike and Nick because even though they're working themselves toward a Matt Singh situation, their tribe is still an absolute mess. There are more people going home, and they're kind of like running out of options. So I'm not saying that they didn't do the right thing here. I was just looking for something else in this situation because Jabari is such a mess.
Jabeni.
Or Jabeni is such a mess. But I totally get Mike. Honorable mention to Mike. Honorable mention to Gabby about the whole thing. But I just was looking for something different this time. I said Allison.
For worst player, so it was, Carl, Davey, Elizabeth, that whole situation.
Yep.
Dishonorable mentions to two of them, which ended up being Carl and Davey. My tiebreaker was Elizabeth almost knocked over Carl with that bamboo. I think she's a lot of reasons to be upset. You don't hit someone with bamboo. So Elizabeth.
I didn't even think about the fact that her carelessness and the callous nature in which she kind of carried that carelessness, that cavalier attitude, almost got Carl seriously injured. And even just for that, I would have agreed that it's Elizabeth. I wrote down Elizabeth because even though I gave all this relationship advice earlier, for real life, how to make a relationship happy, yes, Davey and Carl could have built a bond here. But it is still Elizabeth's job to assimilate to the people around her. This is the game of Survivor. It's not about friendship. It's not about the game of life. And so strictly in the rules of Survivor, in the context of Survivor, Elizabeth needed to assimilate and not blow up. And of course, not almost knock people into fires.
Yeah, I actually had left it blank up until this point just because it was those three names and I wasn't really sure how to proceed. I think the fact that Elizabeth vocalized not only to Davey and Carl, but also in confessional, that she tends to just kind of like act out a little bit when she gets frustrated and when she interacts with her quote stupid people. That I think is the tiebreaker for me, because that might be true. And I think that is understandable, but you need to bottle that a little bit better. And I know that there are more medical factors that are coming into play here that I'm trying to be understanding of, because that can be really annoying, especially when it comes down to sleep on the game of Survivor, a game that is a high stress environment that can drive you crazy. Sleep is so important. And if you have these back issues because of the bamboo, that is making that even worse. I'm trying to consider that as well. But you still need to do your best job to make sure you keep a cool head. And if you are going to make these changes, make it early in the day and communicate it as best as possible. And it seems like she's just kind of letting it take over her entire mood and personality and way of communicating right now. So that's why I'm going with Elizabeth.
Yeah, she has my sympathy, but yeah. All right, that is the pre-merge. We made it through. We're down to 13 people going into the merge. So let's check in with our winner picks. Derek and Josh, you both have Allison. I have Gabby. We're stuck with them. But would we switch if we could, Derek?
I would. Not because I think Allison has played poorly. It is because she has been so bloody invisible. Because, I would say she has played a darn good pre-merge. She has options. She's played well. She's played with her heart. She's honestly everything in a Survivor player that I was hoping when I made a winner pick. She disappeared from episode 2 to episode 5. Mm-hmm. If I'm on the island, I would still keep her. But because I'm watching as a viewer, I would have to switch off to Allison. And I would probably move to either a Gabby, who's had visibility through that entire time and is now allied with her, or Christian. I'm going to err on the side of Gabby just because going into the merge, we saw Allison and Gabby coming together to possibly overthrow Dan and make something happen. There's no way they let Mike White get to the end. There's no way they let the mayor of Slamtown get to the end. He's a great merge boot. So you just look across these people that I think are all capable of winning. And I just think Gabby and Allison have the best path there. But Allison has just been utterly invisible.
Sure.
So on edit only, I would switch to Gabby. Love Allison.
Yeah, all of my reasonings are almost the exact same as Derek. Really like where Allison is at right now, pre-merge wise. But edit specifically would make me want to switch off of her. I like her reasoning for wanting to maybe go against the brochachos in this most recent episode, but it's just been, the totality of the edit. So I think it comes down to switching to either Christian, Gabby, or Nick, because like Derek said, I don't think Mike White would be a good viable option. Otherwise, I would have included him too. Christian, I think we haven't seen as much of the strategy side. It's more been like, oh, he's been really good at assimilating with these brochachos and really good socially and a really likable person. Whereas Gabby, we've seen a little bit more of the willingness to, open up past just the her and Christian alliance. And then obviously we've seen a lot of Nick just because that tribe has been doing quite poorly. So good on him for that. I would narrow it down to probably Gabby and Nick. I think I'd probably lean towards Gabby here.
It's really interesting because I have Gabby. And I would leave Gabby. I'm worried because she comes off as paranoid to me, and I'm worried that would be her downfall. I would switch to Nick because he's getting that edit, like, oh, I was almost the first person voted out. I'm going to turn my game around. And he's just had a lot of screen time, a lot of good confessionals. So I hate it because he's an awful human being.
We didn't know it at the time.
We didn't know it at the time.
Well, it wasn't even real at the time.
So yeah, I would switch to Nick if I could, but I'm stuck with Gabby. Let's get into best and worst player of the pre-merge. As a reminder, we only count the 13 people who make the merge. So Natalie cannot win worst player of the season, even though she probably deserves it. So Josh, who is your best player of the pre-merge?
I think I would give it to Nick here, just since they have been a lot more visible and we've seen a lot more action from them, it's easier to make a decision on this versus like a Christian and a Gabby who after the swap, nothing happened. It's been like, okay, great. A lot of talk and a lot of social, but no action at tribal council. I can't give it to any of the 4 or 5 remaining on Vuku. So just hopping over to Jabeni, I think it's got to be Nick. And we also saw pre-swap his ability to work both sides. He did a really good job at being with the nerds, but also being with kind of like the quote unquote cool kids. When I just like am picturing him being out fishing and being with like B and Jessica and them. And it just seemed like he was doing a really good job at playing both sides without it being a focus. So I think I'd go with Nick here. And he's not really been coming up as a threat. Maybe that's because he's closely aligned with Mike White, but I think that really helps too.
I get it. I ended up going with Mike. He had his rough first episode, kind of like Nick did, but then he just bounced back hard. He seems super likable. He's playing smart. So yeah, I have Mike White.
Mike was my honorable mention for best of the pre-merge. Just because of the situation that he was dropped in, you have to respect how far he's been able to come and what he's been able to build so far. I did decide to go with someone that I didn't see as really having any missteps at all. I went with Christian, and I know that, yeah, after the tribe swap, he was never in any danger. But should they have been in danger, Christian had put himself in the best position possible to be safe. Whereas Gabby would have been in more trouble on paper. And even in some kind of weird blindside situation, it sounds like Dan was in more trouble than Christian because Allison says, not that I want to work with just you, Gabby. She said, I see me with you and Christian. So Christian was even involved when Christian wasn't there. The Bechdel test would have been so frustrated about that moment of 2 women bonding and a man being included. So I gave it to Christian for that. I think he's shown a lot of chops for the game. And you know what? He's well connected and fairly well chameleoned, as much as someone like Christian can be, moving into a post-merge situation.
Worst player of the pre-merge, a lot of the really bad players went out.
That's
pre-merge.
true. That's true. Agreed.
So, we're a little more limited, but I'm going to give mine to Angelina just because she comes off as kind of transparent and cutthroat and nobody really trusts her, and then the whole Jacket Gate situation. So Angelina's my worst.
It was between Angelina and Elizabeth for me, and I went with Elizabeth just because Angelina hasn't had that kind of fight with anybody still left in the game. The kind of fights that Elizabeth has had now moving into a merge are ones that can come back to bite her. Everyone who kind of dislikes Angelina or has a good reason to dislike Angelina is now gone. So that was kind of my tiebreaker, but I do agree that they're both way down there.
I just think Elizabeth had such a good episode in the Natalia boot.
And I felt like that was mostly Davey. Like, I know you gave her a best, but I did not give her a best. I gave out one best that episode. All she did was, I'm not going to give up. And she went and looked for an idol that wasn't there and then played up to Alex's ego at Tribal Council. But Davey was the one who incepted him already.
I think it was a 2-pronged attack.
It may have been a 2-pronged attack, but one of them was like a Harrier missile and the other one was like a broadsword. I don't know. I'm giving it to
I don't think you're giving Elizabeth enough credit. I really don't.
Yeah, maybe not, but she also almost knocked Carl into the fire. So it's a wash. I'm still giving it to Elizabeth, but like I said, it was Elizabeth and Angelina. But I do agree that the bad players are basically gone. There's a world where Alec's decision was so idiotic that it's Alec, but I haven't seen enough from him to give it to him.
Yeah, good point. I am going to give it to Angelina. I'm going to value the moves over the social downsides a little bit more here. One blow up from Elizabeth I don't think is enough to offset, 3 bad moves by Angelina. So I think that her sticking her neck out and being more visible in the pre-merge with the Jeremy vote was bad. I think the jacket situation was bad. And I think that I think there's two results. Either she's brought to the end and no one is going to vote for her because she's unliked, or she's going to be an early boot pre-merge that is going to be an easy name that's floated out. Those are it's kind of like those two situations for her game, and I really don't like that setup for someone coming out of the pre-merge. Whereas Elizabeth, anything could happen. Honestly, anything could happen with Elizabeth. So her game is wide open enough to the point where I would not be able to give it to her.
Josh, you convinced me, and it was because she stuck her neck out for Napalm Natalie to get Jeremy gone. Now, while I agree that it was an okay move for Jeremy to go, I had forgotten that there was, in fact, like 3 big negative moves from Angelina, as opposed to just like there maybe being like 1.5 or 2. So that's enough to push it over. Ryan, you would have convinced me if you'd have said it too. It's not because Josh said it. You didn't give me enough information in what you said.
Yes.
So
I'm sure.
So you're switching to Angelina?
I am switching to Angelina.
Okay.
Definitively.
I'm just that good at convincing, clearly.
All you have to do is give me evidence. I had forgotten about that.
You irritate me.
I'm a fallible juror.
All right. Okay, any other thoughts so far going into the merge?
I mean, not any general thoughts. No, I don't think so,
No.
other than the fact that this has been a lot of fun, and we're left with a lot of fun characters moving into a post-merge.
When you have a season full of fun characters, you have fun characters in the pre-merge and the post-merge.
And when you on a newbie season, when you have a season full of fun characters, the boot order really doesn't matter.
Mhm. All right, weather report.
Oh my goodness. Multiple cyclones. Survivor almost canceled forever if they hadn't been evacuated. One thing that we glossed right over, which is actually one of the funniest cuts in Survivor history, was Napalm Natalie going, "This is what it's like to be on Survivor. I'm happy to be out here in the elements, testing myself." And then they just cut to a couple thunder crashes and more heavy rain, and they just show her drenched. She's like, "All right, I'm done." It was just like a 15-second cut. All right, I'm over this. Nature can shove it. So yeah, a lot of weather. This looks like it was utterly miserable. Another point, Nick at one point said, there hasn't been a whole lot of playing Survivor going on these last couple days. I just want to point out, Nick, shut up, because I hate you. This is playing Survivor. It's just not playing that Survivor. It's not playing the prototypical Fiji Survivor. But why don't you tell that to the people who actually had a difficult nature season of Survivor, that this isn't Survivor? Going on a cruise is fun. Survivor's not always fun.
The way you described Natalie hating nature just reminded me of Chunk from the Goonies. I love the dark. I like the dark. I love the dark. But I hate nature.
I hate nature.
I hate nature. Last thing we gotta do is check in with the most memorable moment of the season of the pre-merge so far. Josh, our memorability consultant, what do you got for most memorable moment of the pre-merge?
Yeah, for me, there's 2 big ones. First off, it is right away in the premiere with Pat's Medevac. I actually think they did a really good job at showing just like essentially they come back from break with like waves crashing in the storm, and just like, that's kind of weird. Like, why would they lead with this off of commercial? And then it leads into just, okay, medical's in and Pat's lying on the ground. And I just always remember that happening. It's just kind of like the big waves and big storm and how they edited that into the episode. And then the second one is, Natalie, can I have your jacket? Natalie. About 3 or 4 times.
Natalie.
And it's just perfect. So for me, it's those 2. Do you guys have any other nominations that you'd like to say?
I have 3
Damn.
very quick notables. I don't think any of them are going to win over Natalie's jacket, but you get to decide on this. The one is Christian talking to John about the demographics of Slamtown. This is an exchange that does live rent-free in my head every time I'm doing market analysis at my job, and it's like the word demographics. I'm like, what are the demographics of Slamtown? What happens with the Slamtonians? Who's the mayor? How does one become a denizen of the town that is slammed? So that's one that just lives rent-free in my head. The cyclone and the evacuation, I think just by the nature of that not happening much in Survivor, twice now, that it's memorable in that way. And then one we didn't even talk about, the legendary exchange between Gabby Pascuzzi and Christian Hubicki, where Gabby is sitting on the beach, kind of helpless, playing with a stick in the sand. And she's like, Christian, do you want to play with me? And then he goes, oh, what, do I want to play in the sand with you? Yeah, sure. And she's like, no, Christian, do you want to play this game with me? And he's like, of course. And it's like the most adorable moment in Survivor history. So I can't believe we didn't even just like stop and pause and smell those particular roses, as Mike White would call, walk the primrose path of that beautiful moment between those two. I don't think it beats Natalie's jacket, but for the love of goodness, I needed to talk about it.
That's really good. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's going to come up also in the future, that clip there. So I think that's a good call out. And I will, now that you've mentioned the demographics, as someone who works in marketing, anytime that I see demographics come up, now I'm going to think about the demographics of Slamtown as well. So thank you for that.
I have none. Pat and Natalie were my two.
This is a very memorable pre-merge, and we can't say that often here, folks.
Right? Ultimately, I'm going to give it to Natalie. Can I have your jacket? So congratulations, Angelina, for winning the most memorable moment of the pre-merge.
Classic.
And you know what's crazy is this might not win most memorable moment of the season for me. Josh gets to decide, but I know what my most memorable moment of the season is, and it's yet to come.
I have a couple in the post-merge that are coming to mind, and I know it's going to be a difficult decision once it's all said and done.
I personally put Pat above there just because that stuck with me so much, but I can't fight the Natalie
Sure.
Won it all. Okay, that wraps up the pre-merge of David versus Goliath. So next up will be the post-merge, and it's going to be a fun time. Guys, social media.
Yeah, follow us everywhere at Castaway Pod. And if you're interested in videos, it's Castaway Consultants on Facebook and YouTube. We have a website as well, which is thecastawayconsultants.com.
And make sure you go and interact with us out on Spotify whenever you can. We spent a good portion of the intro of this podcast making fun of the Bible Belt and their rankings on every national list of how happy the states are. Again, any kind of interaction is a good one. So if you hate our guts or love our guts or however you feel about us, put it in the comments and we'll probably engage with it. And of course, we just love ongoing conversations about Survivor in general. So message us on any of the places that Josh mentioned, and we will continue the conversation. But also, guys, I'm starting to feel it, man. We only have 3 more of these in Survivor US to go. So I'm starting to feel it. It's a moment. It's 7 years in the making, and
3 rewinds left.
So I just wanted to call that out, that we're getting there.
And only one good one left.
We don't have to talk about that.
We're ending on quite the weak note. We started on a weak note, we ended on a weak note.
And then we started all over again.
Oh, no. All right, guys. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Not this time.
All right, this has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.